So what I'm going to do now is let Sheila, Huda, and Taronda, if you want to start with anything you want to ask each other, kind of, again, a big part of what Women's Press is going to be doing over the coming year on an ongoing basis, weekly and monthly basis, is talking about how we can build statewide, more collaborative networks together. I think it's very often women-led, not exclusively, but there's a lot of women who are leading amazing collective works, and we want to spotlight that and show how it works, where it doesn't always work. We want to talk about that as well. So I'm just opening it up first to the three of you to throw in any things that you want to learn a little bit more about.
No, I think I just want to make a comment. We talk about community, two comments actually. We talk about community a lot. And I think it was Taronda, what you just said earlier about we are community, like we are part of this. We are not, we're doing this work and we're leading these collaborations, but I think what I'm hearing from you two is we come at it from a perspective of the problem is not happening out there, but we sit within community and it's impacting all of us. And I think that lens shows up in our work and showing up in very humble ways. And Mickey, what you said about this being woman-led, I wonder about that connection.
Appetite for Change was co-founded by 3 women, something we're really, really proud of. And with Women's Press, there's clearly a strong connection there. So I think more broadly, I look forward to just continuing our conversation and looking for just, new ways to support each other.
So there's quite a few different questions that are coming in, but one that had been sent to me earlier on email from Angela. She, in particular here, I think she's talking about the unsheltered issue. So Sheila, I'll direct this to you. And I know in our conversation with you tonight, Sheila, we're primarily talking about Minneapolis, but certainly it's St. Paul and other communities as well. She's in St. Paul. She was walking along. She observed about 25 tents in the park area near her. She's also noticed several lofts in Lower Town St. Paul that are semi-vacant and have space available for various businesses. She's wondering how she can join in collaborative efforts to aid in serving community members who are needing meals, offering, needing bike transportation, all that things.
Oh.
And then she also brought up this question of entertaining an urban esteem spot. I don't actually know what that is. Maybe one of you can explain. That provides a safe and clean facility, offering restrooms, showers, and laundry resources where patrons can freely come at no cost.
Yes, well, one great tool, and I'm not as familiar with St. Paul, but I'm getting more familiar. We do have a We Rise community home in St. Paul too, and we know the city of St. Paul is really grappling with the encampments that Angela refers to. There are approximately, the excess is about 300 people are currently in encampments in St. Paul. That was the data I got from Ramsey County just last week. So Angela, I would suggest looking at your mutual aid. If you hopefully you're on Facebook, look at the St. Paul mutual aid page, because in Minneapolis, there are people offering hospitality all around, both through meals, and I'm happy to connect further. I don't want to dominate this conversation, but there's a lot of people doing good work. One thing I was completely delighted by was I was down at the new wall on Hiawatha, is I was chatting with a woman who's actually going to be coming into this house, and someone came by and they had this cute thing pinned to their shirt, the People's Laundry. And people are going out to encampments and taking people's laundry and doing it and bringing it back. There's a lot of amazing mutual aid going on, and I would suggest connecting with that first, because then you'll be at very much a ground level with your neighbors, both housed and unhoused. Melvin Carter is really trying to provide some good leadership on how St. Paul responds to this somewhat new aspect of their lives. I would say, if I were in St. Paul, not knowing more details, I would start with the mayor's office at a governmental level.
And I know, just to extend that, aspect of things to both Huda and Taronda. I'm hoping you can just explain a little bit more about things that you might want readers to know about in terms of resources they can look into. But Carol had asked, do DoorDash drivers need any special training to participate in the food program that you are doing?
I would suggest they contact DoorDash directly. But from what I've heard from the drivers, they like being able to take, a set amount of orders, because it kind of helps them to map out their time. And from what I'm hearing, they actually like it. So it's been great to see familiar faces return each Monday, because they find it an efficient way to do their DoorDash shift and often, give back to the community. We do have volunteer shifts for people who are interested to come and work. We do socially distanced gardening. So imagine if that is your passion, being able to come and sit in one of the gardens and help with harvesting or something along those lines. We also have a number of volunteer drivers that also show up day of delivery to help with volunteering their time to go and make some of those personal deliveries. And so that is another way that people can also get involved.
Huda, I'm going to ask you directly as you mentioned at the very beginning, there's a huge scope to criminal justice reform. Are there aspects of criminal justice reform going beyond the police abolition conversation that you can suggest people start thinking about or asking questions about or even reflecting personally about?
Yeah, I think just reflecting on, different experiences than their own, whether it's in schools, whether it's policing, whether it's in court paying fines and fees. So paying attention to the types of opportunities and lack of opportunities that are available to folks that have been in the system before, because then if those opportunities are taken away, what you have is a cycle of leading to unhousedness. Then there's the criminalization of the homeless and criminalization of mental health, and really start thinking about which parts are community's role and which part is the justice system supposed to be involved in, and start having conversations about that.
One of the questions here is just how are people with children accommodated in some of the work that's going on right now?
In general, there are more, there are not a lot of resources, but there are more resources for people with children than those who don't have children. However, where there's a barrier, and this is very much a cultural bias against certain people, you can't get into a family shelter unless there's an emergency statement. There was one for a short period this summer. But let's say that I have a partner, but we aren't legally married, at least not in terms of recognized by the state of Minnesota, and we can't show relationship. We can't go into a family shelter together. If I'm a grandmother or an auntie and I can't show relationship or formal custody with the child that I'm caring for, I can't go into a shelter with that child. People serving people does serve families and serves them in a way that moves them on to their next step. St. Anne's Haven Housing is a good resource for women with children. And again, happy to share. Indoor Villages is not designed to accommodate children. It's a very low barrier shelter. We take people where they are. And the dwelling units, actually there's a demo dwelling unit up in the global market right now. They're designed for one person, or if a couple comes in, they would both each get their own dwelling unit, but they wanted to stay together, they could, and we have a bed setup that we can accommodate. But yeah, there needs to be more, and there needs to be more respect and flexibility within the system. And I will say, because it's the Women's Press, the leadership from the city, from Andrea Brennan, the interim director of CPED, and Councilmember Lisa Goodman, has been outstanding in terms of responding to this really entrepreneurial project. I mean, this came together in 2 months, and we feel very confident we'll receive the funding that we need to carry it out. And so people get very frustrated with government. It moves slowly. It doesn't respond to new ideas. In this case, they really haven't. It's 2 women who have really led the way.
Well, our project is just getting started, and a big component of it is listening and bringing unique perspectives. So if you have thoughts on people that I should talk to, organizations that I should connect with, and perspectives I should hear, feel free to contact me.
If anyone has questions, or if there's another conversation we need to have, I would say please reach out to me directly. Otherwise, I know that my contact info has been provided for Appetite for Change. Thanks.
joining our Facebook page, Indoor Villages, is a good way to keep up to date. We're not the best. We're just like ragtag group of people trying to get this done. We're not the best at social media. We're getting better. And then We Rise Leadership Collective on Facebook is where you can learn about not just the housing, but the capacity building and community organizing we're doing for justice involved women and non-binary people.